We are live. What's up, my friends? Abby here. Welcome to our third Novel November Write With Me session. I'm so glad you guys are here with me today. First things first, tell me if you can see me and hear me okay. Let me know how everything looks in the chat. Hopefully everything looks good. And tell me where you're tuning in from and what you're working on. So a lot of us are participating in Novel November this year. And this is the first year of Novel November, and it's been a very fun challenge for a lot of writers in this community. And I've been kind of participating in it as well. I've been trying to finish a novel that I started back in the end of September. So I kind of like already hit the estimated word count that it was going to be. So at this point, it's becoming longer than I thought it would be, but it's okay. Usually I kind of write too much in my first draft and then I go and trim things back later in the edits. So I'm not too concerned about it. But yeah, that's what I'm working on. It's a rom-com contemporary story that I really love. And I'm happy with how it's turning out. It's almost done. I think I have 5 chapters left to write, I want to say. Let me open up my document here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, 4 chapters technically and an epilogue. And I'm not even sure what I'm going to do for the epilogue or if I'm going to do an epilogue. So maybe just 4 chapters. So yeah, very excited. But looks like you guys are joining now. Let's see. I see writers from all over the world joining. It's so cool to see that. Germany, Wisconsin, Tennessee. Awesome. South Africa, Denmark, Illinois. Amazing. Utah, British Columbia, Minnesota, Florida. Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you guys are here. So if this is your first time at one of these writing sessions, the way they're structured is we're going to do 4 writing sprints with 25 minutes on, so 25 minutes of writing, and then 5-minute breaks in between. And during those breaks, I usually try to answer as many questions that I can that pop up in the chat, and then we get back into the next sprint. So I will have my timer here on the screen, and you guys can follow along, or you can set your own timer. And that's basically all there is to it. You can be writing your first draft, you could be editing, you could be revising, whatever it is you're currently working on, and just have fun with it. So I'm going to go ahead and set up a sprint in Discord that you guys can join if you're in the Discord community. If you're not in the Discord community, what are you doing? Go join it. You can join the Discord by joining my Patreon at any level, and the link to that is below this live stream. So if you enjoy these writing sprints and talking with other writers in real time, sharing your work, sharing your ideas, brainstorming together, you would love the Discord community. So I've linked that below. That's part of my Patreon. But if you're in there, feel free to join. If not, then just stay here on the live stream. And we're going to get started in just a minute. Okay, everyone's ready to go, ready to write, ready to rock and roll. I'm going to set my timer, and we're going to get into our first sprint here. Okay, 25 minutes, and then we will reconvene to chat about our stories. Okay, so I'm going to set my timer here on the screen, and let's get into it. Okay, first sprint is done. Great job, guys. Hopefully that was a good sprint for you all. Type in the chat. Let me know how it went. How many words did you write? Was it a productive first sprint for you? Let me know. I saw a few super chats come in during the sprint, so I'm going to start by answering those because I think they might have some questions. So first super chat comes from Cosmic Latte 9. Thank you so much. Do you have any secrets for fixing plot holes? That's a good question. And of course, the answer is going to vary depending on the plot hole that you're dealing with. My favorite way to fix plot holes is to literally talk out the problem with myself. Usually speaking out loud helps me to do this. So sometimes I'll go on a walk, or I will just like talk to myself in my room or in the shower or wherever and talk through the problem. And literally hearing yourself talk it out, like out loud, will help you to find answers to the plot hole in a way that you wouldn't if you're just thinking about it. And if you're still stuck with this and still having problems with it, even after talking to yourself about it, you could also try talking to a trusted friend or a critique partner or beta reader or somebody who's also a writer. That can help too to fix a plot hole and to see things from a different perspective than you would have seen it before. Because other people can just see things from perspectives that you maybe couldn't see. So those are my like go-to ways to fix plot holes, depending of course on what the plot hole is. Sometimes I can just like figure it out on my own. Other times I need help. But hopefully that helps. The next super chat is from Deborah. Thank you so much. I'm writing historical romance. Do you have any advice on how to stop yourself from researching minutiae you might cut out later? That's a great question. And there is basically what I like to do with research, because I just finished writing a 3-book historical fiction series. So I totally know what you mean about those small, minute details that you need to get accurate, but you kind of get distracted sometimes researching them. What I like to do is break my research into 2 categories. So there's the big stuff and the little stuff. The big stuff is like very integral to the plot. And if that's not accurate, then the whole plot falls apart. And that's the stuff that I try to research beforehand, before I even write the first draft or while I'm in the midst of writing the first draft. I usually don't pause my actual writing session to research. I try to maybe do that on my downtime, maybe in the evening or at night or something. But figuring out the big structural stuff first, and then anything that is small details, like write it to the best of your ability, like just guess at the accuracy of it, because those tiny things can change later. And maybe highlight it, make a note to yourself and say, you know, research this later, make sure this is accurate. But that can help, I find, to break those 2 things into different categories and ask yourself, like, when you feel that impulse to go research something, is this a big structural thing that will make the whole plot fall apart if it's not correct? Or is it something small I can change later? And that has helped me a lot. The next question is from Ananda. Thank you so much for the super chat. Abby, how would you outline / write a story with 3 different timelines? It's getting chaotic. Please help. That does sound chaotic, but really cool. And I am so like, I have so much admiration and respect for writers who can do different timelines in a book, because I find that like mind-bending. So props to you for even doing this in the first place. But I think you can handle it well. And what I would say to, like, just from my own perspective on what makes a story compelling, is finding the common ground between those 3 timelines. So making it feel meaningful. That's really important to your reader's experience. Making it feel like they all have something in common. They all have something tying them together. Maybe it's 3 generations of the same family, or maybe it's like all 3 of these people in these different timelines have something in common with each other. Maybe they're all experiencing a similar conflict, or maybe they all have like an artifact or a book or something like passed down through time, and they all end up like having this object in their life, something that ties all 3 timelines together. I'm just kind of thinking out loud here. So I don't know your specific details of your story, but anything that can make those 3 timelines feel like they're interconnected, that's what you want to go for, to make it not feel like it's just chaos. Hopefully that helps. And then the last super chat came from ST Willie. Do you have any recommendations for places to get your work critiqued? Do you listen to Dr. Dre with your beats? I don't, and so I don't know how to answer the second part of that question. But for the first part of the question, do you recommend any place to get your work critiqued? There are different places online that you can find a lot of different trusted sources. Even starting with something like an editorial assessment, which is kind of like step 0 of editing. It's like before you even start to hire a developmental editor, you could get an editorial assessment, which is basically just having a professional editor read your book and critique it. That, of course, costs money, so you can look to other resources that will be free for like just putting your work onto these platforms where you can get critiques. And a lot of times it's a critique for a critique system. I'm not remembering the name of the platform that I researched once about this, but maybe if somebody else in the chat knows what I'm talking about, they could post the link. But basically it's like you critique other people's work and they critique your work, and it's kind of like a swapping writing. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a really cool service. So I'd recommend looking to some trusted, reputable sources for doing that. But hopefully that helps. We're going to get into the next sprint, and I will answer any more questions and super chats in the next break so that we are sticking to our timeline here. So reset your timers, 25 minutes. Let's get that back on the clock and go for another sprint. number 2 is finished. Great job, guys. Type in the chat. Let me know how it went. Hopefully that was a productive session for you guys. Let's see. I'm up to 896 words. Sweet. Okay, I'm going to grab a few super chats and answer as many other questions as I can, and then we're going to get to our next sprint. Okay, first super chat from the last sprint was from Mallory. Thank you so much. Making writing time inspirational tips for starting. Yeah, it can be difficult to make yourself feel inspired when you sit down to write and you have that maybe small window of time to devote to your project. What my go-tos are is like music and visuals. So I will go to my book playlist. If you don't have a book playlist, I recommend curating one. Anything that will like put you in the mood immediately. Or if not the book playlist, then maybe just like a soundtrack that matches the vibe of what you're writing. That's a go-to thing for me. Every time I sit down to write a new scene, I kind of check in with like, what's the mood of this scene and what is a good soundtrack that I can go to that I know will like get me locked in the zone. Also visual inspiration. So making Pinterest boards, aesthetic boards, and having that to look at will help you to lock into that mood as well. Those would be like my quick writing inspiration tips. Let's see, another super chat from Cosmic Latte. Thank you so much. I find myself wanting to use the word suddenly a lot. Do you have any suggestions for replacement words or actions? Yeah, this is a big one that a lot of writers are guilty of, so you're not alone. When something happens suddenly, oftentimes we don't even have to say it happened suddenly. Like, I would say first check in with yourself. Can you just take out that word altogether and nothing changes? Because usually the action happens so suddenly that we don't need to say it happened suddenly. However, if you feel like there needs to be a little word to bridge that gap, I recommend replacing it maybe with all at once or without warning, or that's when blank happens. Those can be good bridges to like bring in a quick action without saying suddenly. But I would also challenge yourself to see if you can just cut that all together. Let's see. Another super chat. Your name is getting cut off, but I see the first part is Ohana. So thank you so much for the super chat. What book of yours is your favorite? Would you ever turn it into a film? I have finished my supernatural drama and romance series. Your videos have helped me so much. Well, congratulations on finishing your series. That is amazing. And you should be so proud of yourself for sticking with it. I'm so glad my videos have helped. My favorite book that I've published so far is 100 Days of Sunlight. You guys probably know that. And I would absolutely like just perish from joy if it got turned into a film. Like that is an ultimate dream of mine. So I am very, very much excited about the possibility of that someday happening. That would be amazing. I would love to see that turned into a film. But honestly, I'd love to see all my books turned into films because that would be great too. But definitely 100 Days of Sunlight. A super chat from Hannah Woods. Thank you so much. Here's some magical writing inspiration dust for everybody. So thankful for you having in these sessions. Hope everyone's writing is going well. Thank you so much for the super chat. Another one came in from Dr. Hobbitfoot. Any advice for writing trauma or PTSD when you personally have not experienced it? I am struggling to write emotional variety as an Enneagram 5. This is a really great perspective to have. So props to you for even coming up with this question and thinking this way. I would say first things first would be to like identify what is the specific trauma or PTSD that you're writing about, and then see if you can find some sources online from like blogs or YouTubers of people who've actually experienced this particular trauma, talking about it and sharing about it. Maybe they wrote a book about it, or maybe they just write a blog about it, or they share about it on their YouTube channel or their social media. Anyone who is openly sharing their story usually is willing to talk one-on-one with you about it. So you can message them, reach out to them, and just tell them that you're writing a book with this subject matter and you want to represent it accurately and respectfully, and that you would like to ask them some questions about their personal experience. This is something that I have done and I recommend every writer do, just to like make sure that you're respectfully representing what you're writing about. And you also find that it's a really fascinating process to even talk to people and learn about their personal stories. And your writing will benefit from it greatly. So that would be the first place I'd recommend starting. One more super chat before we get into the break. From AdButler70, I write fantasy. I don't really have a question, but thank you. I've watched many of your videos that have helped me with my writing. Best of luck. Thank you so much. Well, since that wasn't a question, I will answer the second one from Bartik TV. Thank you so much. Hey, Abby, although not having much time to write this November, I'd have to thank you so much for your videos on how to edit. Your writing is doing a live example on text. Your advice is gold. Yes, I really want to do some live editing videos. That's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, like doing a series of editing, not just my writing, but also maybe editing your writing. So having you guys submit writing to me and I edit it live. If that's something that you guys would be interested in seeing, type in the chat, let me know. That's something I've been thinking about a lot lately and I'd really like to explore. So yeah, hopefully that can be something that we try. And last super chat that came in was from Aurelia Ray. How would you go about structuring a romance duology series? Great question. I would say making sure that each story has like its own complete arc is good, but also making sure that the first book kind of leaves the characters in a place where we want to read the next book. Because if it's not really like just a sequel, if it's a duology where you have to read both books to feel like you've read the complete story, then you want to leave some of those conflicts unresolved at the end. So I would say as far as the structure goes, maybe don't bring your characters to their ultimate like aha moment in the end. Maybe instead have the climax build up to a cliffhanger or a moment where something pivots and something changes, and maybe leave the characters in an unresolved place where we have to be pulled into that second book to see how that conflict gets resolved. There's lots of different ways that you can achieve that and navigate that. So kind of go crazy with your own ideas here. But I would like to make more videos on writing duologies because I feel like I haven't really talked about that. I've talked about trilogies, but not duologies. Now we did hit our goal for super chats. Thank you guys so much for sending all those wonderful super chats. It means so much to me. And I promised that if we hit our goal today, I would share 3 facts about my main characters. Okay, so fact number 1 about my female main character is that she is an Enneagram 6, which has been fun because I've never written a protagonist who's an Enneagram 6 before. So it's been a whole experience to like get into her brain and figure out how she sees the world. And she's also like a little bit inspired by Rapunzel from Tangled. That would be like my second fun fact about her. And my main male character is an Enneagram 8. And again, I haven't written from an 8's perspective before, so that has been an interesting experience. And I don't know if I really have a character inspiration for him. I mean, I do, but he's like become so much different than the original character inspiration that I feel like it's not really connected anymore. But he has some tragic backstory. That would be my second fun fact about him. He has a very tragic backstory, but he is also like just very not too broody about it, like broody in a nice way, in a cool way. And the third fact about both of them, which I feel like I may have talked about before, is that they are like the most grumpy sunshine duo I have ever written. Like he is so grumpy and she is so sunshine, but I feel like their chemistry is perfect together. And I am really excited for you guys to read this book. I'm so excited. Okay. And I'm really close to being done with it too, which I mentioned at the beginning of this writing session. It's so close to being done and I'm really excited to cross the finish line. Okay, one more sprint. Actually, I'm sorry, 2 more sprints. So let's set our timers and get that going. I'm talking for way too long this time. I'm sorry. Okay, we're gonna get to it right now. Okay. Sprint number 3 is complete. Great job, guys. Fantastic work. Let me know how that went in the chat. We have one more sprint to do. That's 1379. So 483 new words. Awesome. Okay, looks like you guys had a good, productive sprint as well. Wonderful. Thank you again for the super chat from Ohana Animations. You said Enneagram 6 is fire. My MC is a 6, wing of 7 with PTSD. Hard to write. Yes, that is hard to write. And props to you for endeavoring to do that and to embark on that adventure. It's always interesting when you write personality who's not like you, because it's such a fun challenge to try to get into that character's head. Dragon Keeper Alley gave a super chat. Thank you so much. You said, Abby, I got a fantasy series planned, but it's a series within a series, if that makes sense, and some events overlap. How would I make it less confusing? That's a good question. I think for like a series within a series, like it's all kind of within the same world, it sounds like. Making it so that your reader can read this separate series without having to like go and read the first books. If it's like you have maybe a trilogy and then you have another trilogy or a duology or something that's in the same world, but it's you don't necessarily have to read the first 3 books. Making it so that you throwing my glasses on the floor. Making it so that your reader can like easily step into that world and understand what's going on. So maybe that means like reestablishing the rules of the world in this series within a series, so that we don't have to go back and like learn all of that through the first series, if that makes sense. I would start with that and see where it goes from there. Let's see. Batman fan asked, do you have any tips on how to write dreamlike hazy scenes where my main character is looking back on a blurry memory? I love playing with this and experimenting with this because there's so many different ways to do this. It all really comes down to your specific writing style. Because I've seen dreams and memories written in like so many different styles. But my personal favorite is when we just see like snatches of the scene or the memory, maybe like really small specific details that we're kind of zooming in on these details and having these quick cuts. So maybe shorter sentences to show that. And we don't have to see the whole picture. A lot of times when we have a hazy memory or a dream, we're not seeing every single detail of it. It's like more small little flashes of scenes, right? Little elements of what's happening. So maybe try experimenting with that. Like start with almost like writing it in the style of a slam poem or poetry, where we're just getting like little glimpses of imagery. We don't have to stop and paint a whole picture here. That I would say would be a good place to start. Let's see. Philip asked, you gave a super chat. Thank you so much. I have a romance scene in which the man takes the woman from one location to someplace scenic. Should this scene divulge critical plot info in the first or second half? Well, it's kind of hard to say, like, depending on what's happening in the scene. But I would say when you're switching locations in a book, sometimes when you are like wanting to get into the internal conflict or the plot or like move the actual story forward, you want to like just change the scene location before you do that, so that we are quickly like relocated in this new place and we can see what's going on. And then we can sort of resume with the internal conflict and the plot. Sometimes you can weave the two in together, but you also don't want to slow down those transitions too much so that the pacing feels slow, right? So looking for those moments where you can advance the plot and advance the character's internal conflict without having to slow down the actual pacing of the story. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm not sure if that was exactly your question, but I think I'm interpreting it correctly. But changing location in your book is always it's a nice way to like sort of reframe what's happening also in the plot and maybe between the characters. especially if it's like more of a romantic scene. Maybe they end up like watching the sunset on the beach or a hillside or something, and it's now like the setting matches the mood of what's being said in the dialogue and what's happening. So that can be a great way to sort of set the stage for the plot to move forward in a meaningful way. Okay, our 5-minute break is up. Let's do 25 more minutes for our 4th writing sprint, and then we're going to be done. You can do it, guys. Stay with me to the end if you can. If you can't, I understand if you have to hop off. But for those of you who can stick around, let's try to do one more sprint. 25 minutes. I'm going to see if I can finish my scene. That's my goal. Okay, let's go. Okay, last sprint. Great work, guys. You did an amazing job. You should be so proud of yourselves. Type in the chat, tell me your final word count. How did the whole session go as a whole? Hopefully it was a good session. Hopefully you got a lot of words written. I got a lot of words written. I finished my chapter. It ended up being 1,700 words and change. So I'm pretty happy with that. And yeah, it was a good session. Now I only have 3 chapters left to this book. So crazy. It's almost over. So type in the chat, let me know how it went. Super chat came in while we were on that sprint from Richard. You said, I'm at a point in my story where the main male character emotionally hurts the female main character. How can I redeem him to the female main character and the readers? He's becoming too unlikable. This is a really good question. And it's funny because I'm kind of writing something a little bit similar in my book, so I can kind of speak from experience here. I would recommend to, if you can do this, can you make the emotional hurt that the female main character has, can you make that like an unintentional consequence of something that the main male character did that is like totally justifiable, so that it's not like malicious and he doesn't seem unlikable because he actually is like a likable person and he's flawed, and maybe he hurt her emotionally without meaning to, like it's a total unintended consequence of his own emotional hurt towards something. Is that possible for your story? Just something to think about, something to ruminate on. And this, I think, makes a character still likable because we really like flawed characters, even if they make mistakes, even if they accidentally hurt people they love, because it's not from a place of maliciousness. It's not from a place of malice. That's the word I'm looking for. It's from a place of like them being flawed and hurt also. So any way that you can like kind of play into that main male character's emotional pain too, I think would make him more likable. Just a thought. Okay, wonderful work, guys. I'm so glad you were able to join me for this writing session. Thank you so much for all the super chats, and I hope to see you next Wednesday. We're going to have another Write With Me session, probably again in the afternoon, so stick around for that. Watch page will be up the day before, and I hope to see you there. Until then, you can join the Discord to be in there and do more writing sprints with the community. You can join that by joining my Patreon at any level. The link is below this live stream. Thank you guys again so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, happy writing and rock on.